So, Johnny, it's an auspicious day today, isn't it? World Tap Dancing Day we're recording this on.
Somebody told me in the dentist this morning. I didn't know it was going on. Apparently there's some kind of festival that goes on for a week.
Really?
I don't know where it is. It's probably in America, I think.
The funny thing is...
send them my dancing in the garage.
Oh, yeah, we should do, man. We should. I mean, the thing is, I'm surprised. They know about you, Johnny. They didn't mention it to me when I had my second vaccine jab today. So, obviously, they don't...
How are you feeling?
I'm fine, yeah.
Are you Pfizer or are you AstraZeneca?
I'm AstraZeneca.
Oh, I'm Pfizer. I'm a Pfizer man.
Who'd have thought a year and a half ago we'd be talking along those sort of lines?
It's mad, isn't it?
It's
mad.
It is absolutely mad. But hopefully getting better slowly but surely now. So fingers crossed. Now then, it was something that Emily said last week, Emily Squire said last week in our podcast that got you thinking, and you text me, you said we should talk about...
Just thinking about her life. She wrote a magazine, the Weekend magazine, and it was entitled Up at the Count of Nine. And I think that's kind of what her life was like. She got really bad sometimes, but she'd get up and sort of do it again. Yeah,
yes.
You know, being knocked down, this business we're in, we put ourselves up there to be knocked down again, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so, and you've got to get up, like Dorothy used to say, at the count of nine and start again.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be difficult, you know. I mean, you really got to have a strong constitution because I don't know about you, but if you do an audition, we know it's only if your face fits or if your voice fits what they're looking for. But we always take it personally. You can't help it sometimes. And then you've got to get up and do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one person, a lovely lad called Alan Thompson, I think I might have told you the story. He, sadly, he's no longer with us, a radio presenter. And he said, do you know what the thing I love about you? And I thought, is it going to be my voice, Johnny? Is it going to be my songs? What's it going to be? He said, you never gave up. You never gave up. Persistence. And I suppose that does mark people out who have carved out a career in this sort of industry. Well, maybe it's every industry, is it? I mean,
everything.
Sport's the same, isn't it? Boxing, because...
Oh, boxing, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what Gordon Mills once told me? Gordon Mills was the famous manager of Tom Jones, who don't know that. I was sat in the digs with him once, and we're having breakfast. And he said to me, first of all, he said, where are you from? And I said, Cardiff. He said, the Bronx of Wales. I think I've told you that before.
That's great.
And he said, the trouble with this business, John, he said, if you're the world boxing champion and you knock out the world champion, then you're world champion. Mm. You can be the best singer in the world. And unless you get the luck, you're going to be still singing in a club somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's it. This business is very, I don't know if it's 80% luck and 20% for tenacity, but you've got to keep going.
Yeah.
Can't give up.
Yeah. And it is strange. You know, I've been thinking a lot about this lately because obviously the world has changed this last 18 months and, I'm still making records, Johnny. I'm still making records. And I was thinking about this. Everybody's saying, it's hard to get your records on the radio and stuff. And I think, oh gosh, I'll give in. And then I thought to myself, when I was 12 years old, living in a little terraced house in Bryn Hyfryd in Swansea, and I borrowed my dad's tape recorder to record my songs, it must have been just as hard back then, but I didn't know. So I just kept on sending tapes to people until somebody said yes.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
So maybe sometimes not know it is, well, it's experience, I suppose.
I think when you're young, you're fearless anyway, Andrew. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you. When I went into show business first, I didn't want to be a star. That didn't enter my head. Mm-hmm. What entered my head was I loved the thought of that theatre. Like I've been brought up in it when we've had it. And just to listen to the sound of the tinny band coming over and the audience. That's what I wanted, just to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And anything else was a bonus after that. You know what I mean? We had recording contracts. You've had a record. I've had a couple of contracts.
Yeah.
The elusive hit record, I never got it. But I've still had a good career.
Yes.
Because I did other things. And like remember when the clubs all closed? I think it was the 70s. Mm-hmm. All the nightclubs closed down.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was something to do with they did something with the gambling laws. You couldn't gamble in a club. It had to be special premises. And it put lots of people out of work, the croupiers, the musicians, the entertainers. So I thought, so I sat down and I thought, I'm not going to do nothing. So I wrote a show. And I wrote this thing about Frankie Vaughan. And then I did the theatres with it.
Yeah.
And when that finished, I thought, well, I'll write another one. So I wrote a thing called Turn on the Taps, which was all about the tap dancer. So I made work, if you like, because I had to pay the mortgage.
Yes.
But so again, you have to keep going some way. I mean, I don't know about you. When I was in school, well, you're probably better than me. I was useless in school. I think I had ADHD.
Really?
I didn't pass anything.
You still have,
I didn't
Vince.
take
To
any.
be honest, Johnny,
I
still
know.
have.
I know. I didn't take any notice of the teacher. I remember doing the English paper for the 11 plus, and it was on a book by Arthur Conan Doyle. I forget what it was. Say it was Out of the Baskervilles, we will say, right?
Yeah.
I hadn't read the book. So I get there and I open the paper and I can't answer any questions. I just wrote some gibberish down, you know. I made some story up. And I thought to myself, and I never passed anything. So the only thing I was any good at was swimming, right? So the headmaster, I mean, I remember this like it was yesterday because it can scar children, this kind of thing. And I won the swimming gala, and he's presented me with my certificate in front of the whole assembly. And he said, "Look at this, kids. Even John can do something." I mean, you couldn't say that to a kid today. He was banned. And I thought, you know, what a swine, you know what I mean? But, so I showed him, didn't I? I've learned 2 languages, written 2 books. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you've got to keep going, boy.
Yeah. So what have been? Let's talk about the negatives. What have been the big knockbacks for you? Well, obviously the Knights Club closing because that was your bread and butter for a long time. What big rejections have really stung a bit, Johnny? I mean, you know, I don't want to wallow in it. I'm not trying to make you feel bad.
I know. I'll give it something that really made me. How can I think of it? I won Opportunity Knocks, as you know, right? 4 times. So that was it. And I'm doing a tour. I think I was doing all the Pontins cabarets, you know. And the boss came and said, "Oh, they want you to go on New Faces." I don't know, New Face. I've just done Op Knocks. And when I don't know, why do I need New Faces? Oh, they're adamant they want you on it and that. So I said, and I capitulated. I said, all right, I'll do it, right? Anyway, go to Birmingham, do this thing. I got a new suit. I'm looking at business. And the 4 people on the panel, I think Tony Hatch was one. George Elric was another, who was a manager and a band leader. And somebody. Anyway, my old man recorded on a tape recorder. Everybody on that panel said, one bloke said, "This is what 3 minutes is all about. This guy's great." He comes to Tony Hatch and he says, "He looks good. He sings well. I didn't like the song much." And he marked me down and I came second. And it was a big knockback because you're not supposed to be talking about the song. It's about the performance. Yeah. And I was in the dressing room like this. Why did I do this? I didn't need it. I was on Op Knocks. I won it.
Yeah.
So that was one. And then I used to get things like my agent to ring up and say, "Right, I've got the head booker of ATV coming." His name was Alec Fine. He said, "Now, where can he see you working?" I said, "Well, let me think. I'm in the Double Diamond in a couple of weeks. I always do well at the Diamond." So he said, "Right, I'll send him in there." He said, "He won't tell you what day he's coming. He'll just turn up." So all the week, I'm killing him. I'm getting standing ovations, the works. On the Friday, it's rock and roll night, and my support act was Shakin' Stevens. The audience are only there for the rock and roll. They're all in the dress, in the draped jacket, and they're shouting and they're bawling. So I got to fight over this crowd now. That was the night Alec Fine came in. Yeah. Didn't tell me. And he goes back to me and said, "No, I was a bit of a clubby act." He said, "A clubby act?" I said, he's class act, John. He said he had to fight the rock and roll. So it was just like luck. Yeah. You know, like Mike was saying, being in the right place at the right time. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So things like that knock you back. You know what I mean? You think, what am I going to do? Yeah. That's it. I did another one in the Lakeside Club, beautiful club. You've been to the Lakeside?
I've seen it on telly. I think it looks
fantastic. They do the
fantastic.
darts, but it used to be just a cabaret room, right? So I'm doing well there. So my agent, Bunny Lewis, his name was, he was quite a good agent. Well, he's a very good agent. He said, "I'm bringing in the head booker of the BBC to see you." Okay. So he comes in to see me. I do great. Okay. This bloke's all over me. "Oh, we're going to find something for you, John." You had to sack the following month. So you're back where you started. I wrote a film about Dorothy Squires, okay?
Yeah, lovely. Perfect.
Me and Paul Turner, Paul Turner, he was a great director and he won an Oscar, he had an Oscar nomination for Hair Win.
Yeah.
But the only Welsh bloke I've ever known has gone to Hollywood, up the carpet, okay? So we write this film and we give it into the BBC. And the head of the BBC at the time, Di Smith, he loved it. "Oh, we're going to do something with this, John." Gave us money to
pre-production.
And so he leaves. In comes somebody else and chucked it out. So you go, what am I going to do? Is it me? God, as Dorothy used to say, what have I ever done to you?
It's funny. I'm trying to think now. Okay, let's go through some painful things for me. I'm 13 years old.
Right.
I'm playing football at the Vetch. My dad never missed a match. He came to every schoolboy match I ever played, and he's standing at the side of the pitch of the Vetch. And I'm captain in Swansea schoolboys. We're doing quite well. The manager, Roy Bentley, turns to, he doesn't know this man. He said, "Do you know who that midfield player is?" And my dad very proudly says, "His name's Maldwyn Pope." He writes the name down in his little book. Roy Bentley, captain Chelsea to the FA Cup final. I mean, the England legend, manager of the Swans. My dad tells me when I get back, on the Saturday, Roy Bentley is sacked.
See, that's the same thing.
And with him went my footballing career. Unbelievable.
But there's a lot of luck in this world, isn't there? With everything. But I think more so in sport and show business. A lot of it's luck, being in the right place.
Being in the right place at the right time. So Eurovision. So I got through to the song for Europe.
And on to song number 4 in our quest for a song for Europe. It's called Everybody. It's written and sung by Mal Pope. Everybody.
Everybody's saying it's so hard to make a living. It's enough to make a grown man cry. Everybody's talking about taking and not giving. Save yourself the trouble, let those sleeping dogs lie. Too many times I've tried to change the world. With egg on my face, that old story rings true. I just said everybody needs somebody. I get the feeling that one needs you.
You know, so it's like it's 6 British acts or 8 British acts, and you're going to choose the song for Europe. And it went pretty well, to be honest. Nice band, 3 girl backing vocalists, Paul Henry on harmonica, Ronnie Hazelhurst orchestra, and
Ronnie Hazel, yeah.
So all the crew going favourites. They probably say it to everybody. I didn't realise that they were favourites. And you know, it's. I remember being in the loo beforehand, thinking, 17 million people, I'm either going to sing this song for the rest of my life, or it's the last time I ever sing it tonight. And it was the last time I ever sang it. I didn't come last. I always say I came last, but I came like 6th, I think, out of 8. And, you know, I'm going home on the train thinking, what am I going to do now? What am I...
It knocks you down. You feel terrible, don't you? But it's like a really, I don't know what it is. It's weird.
Yeah. But the lovely thing was, about a week later, I answered the phone. It was Max Boyce.
Oh, all right.
We're going on tour to Southeast Asia. Hong Kong, Korea, Australia, New Zealand. Do you want to come? I went, hold on a second. Okay. I've got nothing.
I'll look at my diary.
So what they say is one door closes, you know, another window bolts shut. No, another window opens. So
another one slaps in your face.
But you've got to take. Do you have to go through the? You know, I always worry about these people who are stars from nowhere, and X Factor and all that. How they cope with the first bad moment in their lives. Because, you know, for those special moments, like you when an opportunity knocks, you are the bee's knees. You know, there are millions of people voting for you, rooting for you, and, you know, so it's going well. You do the record, it's, you know, it's not a hit. Oh. And then they're on to the next one. So... You know, at least we'd been rejected in smaller places and not just on telly.
But see, it's like the record business. You know, you fight to get a recording contract. You get a recording contract. You think you're on cloud 9. Yeah. You're ordering your E-Type Jag. You know what I mean?
It's going to be great.
But then it comes out, and you got to get it played. Then you got to get the pluggers to get it on the radio. And then you're listening for it. And I remember one record. We got you the power play on Luxembourg. So it was played like every hour or something. But they have to pay for this, but the companies should pay for it. So I forget what it was. Yeah. I still didn't get it. No. The one that really did me in, I had this record called Steal a Million Kisses, okay?
Only you can steal a million kisses from my heart.
So it gets on four-way family favourites. Now that, as you remember, used to be like huge.
Yeah.
So if you got on there, you could get probably a hit record. So it's on four-way family favourites. And some nerd had written in, he couldn't kiss somebody a million times. It would take him and he'd work it out. 4 years, 3 hours.
This is before Twitter. They were like this before Twitter. It's not just Twitter then.
So then everybody was ringing in saying, yes, he could have done it if he'd have been on holiday. And they did all this rubbish. But I thought, this is great. This is going to make me a hit record. Anyhow, so the record was really a kind of a beyond tempo. It was a bit like a Tom Jones thing, see? Mm-hmm. But my record company just signed up Keith Michelle. Remember Keith Michelle? He was an actor.
Henry VIII.
And he was a singer as well, right? Yeah. So his record comes out the same week. Because he's on television every week, they went behind that and pushed that and they forgot mine. So again, what have I done, you know?
All right,
what have I ever done to you?
Coping with it. Now, they call it post-tour blues as well. You know, when you're going on one of these big, extravaganzas, it was a bit like that coming back from the tour with Max, to be honest. But at least there were a couple of things lined up. I remember doing the first big musical production, Amazing Grace, about the Welsh revival. Michael Bogdanov produced it, and it had been my life for about 3 or 4 years. Every day, I was broke at the time, completely and utterly broke. I was living off handouts from various different charities who thought it was a good idea. We got to the end. I remember we were up in North Wales, and the poppers all go off. Walk out. They pulled me from behind my keyboard to the front. The curtain came down. Everybody drove home, as did I. And then the next day I woke up and thought, what on earth do I do now? What on earth do I do? That's been my life for the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's like
yes,
enormous gap, isn't there? There's a gap. Yeah. And so I learned from that.
I remember talking about Donnelly Squires. I got up to a house for something, and I just had a new suit. I used to go to this tailor. I could only afford one a year because he was very expensive, but he's a fantastic tailor. And I had this beautiful new suit, But and all the clubs closed. I said to Don, I got this new suit. I said, I got nowhere to wear it. She broke up laughing. All dressed up and nowhere to go.
Thanks, Dot. I appreciate your kind words at this time. We laugh about it now. But it's not funny when you lose your job. And a lot of people have been through it lately now with the pandemic and everything. But you and I have lost our jobs on many occasions. I remember when things go well, you're on like the radio, you're on the TV, and it happened to me within 2 months. I'd lost all of it.
All of it.
Radio had gone. Yeah. Just they decided didn't renew the TV series, and I've still got 4 kids. Just moved house, and all of that. That is, my kids still remember me. In the middle of the night, walking up and down the stairs, breathing heavily. It hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah, it hurts.
What
and
are
it's
you
not
going
only
to
the
do?
money; it's your ego gets flattered. It's like, I don't know about you, but I did a TV series once from the Double Diamond Club. Funny, the BBC did a thing called In Cabaret. So they gave 6 artists a half an hour to do exactly what they wanted. They gave us an orchestra, do something, right? So I had one, Max Boyce had one. Who else did? Stan had one. Stan had one. Ryan Davis had one, and who else? Somebody else. Iris Williams. So they give 5 of us. We all did this thing. So I did my act because it was a cabaret room. I had this lovely orchestra. I had a girl dancing with me, and it went really well. See, so Geraint Stanley Jones, who was then head of the BBC, came to me and said, "John, yours is the best of the 5." I didn't have another gig off him for 3 years. So you think, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Now, Emily called it the power of 9. And
up at the count of 9.
Up at the count of 9. Mario Macronelli, Enzo Macronelli's dad, used to say 8. You go down because we're all going to take a punch. There's no point in trying to, all of us, even the big stars. You think of people like Frank Sinatra. There was a point in his career when he was the Bobby Soxers. Next minute he couldn't get arrested.
That's right.
We all take a punch. And Mario used to say, at the count of 8, go down on one knee, arm on the ropes, and then count
That's
to
right.
8.
That's right.
But you need a coping mechanism. That's all very well, but you need a coping mechanism. So what I've got a plan now, and actually this is part of my usual plan, to be honest, Johnny. You're part of my plan. Do you know what it is?
Right. What is it?
It's always having the next project lined up and ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
because the last thing either of us, any of us in this industry, or actually in any other industry. So I think this hopefully might be some advice if you're not a boxer or a tap dancer or a singer-songwriter. Always have the next project lined up, because if you've got a proper job, you can get quite comfortable, can't you? You're used to the money coming in, you're used to the regular income, and you don't have to. And then it's too late. By the time you found out you haven't got another gig, it is then too late. So always have the next project lined up.
You know what? When you say about people losing their jobs, because we're like self-employed people, unless we work, we don't eat. Okay, it's one of those things. But people now they're losing their jobs because of COVID. Their businesses are closing. That happens to us all our lives. As you say, the job ends. The end of the summer season comes. Where do I go now? What's next? You may have 2 months out of work. Yeah. So we're so used to, like, the next job. When's it going to come? If it's going to come, So we've got a veneer, I suppose. Yeah. And we get used to it. So I feel very sorry for these people that are not used to it. People who are used to going 9 to 5 and a job for life. Yeah. We've never had a job for life. No. We got a job for a week.
If you're lucky.
What happens next week? Yeah.
You got a job for a week.
Oh.
So anybody listening to this, then that's my advice: is to always have another project just bubbling under. Even if you haven't started it, you've got a list of things that you're going to do next. Write a book, write a film, write a musical, make a record. What is your advice for people who have taken the punch?
Well, the same thing as you just said, really. Is a neighbour of mine. He went to work in Riyadh for years, and he's got lots of stories. He said, why do you write them down? He said, who'd read them? I said, unless you write them, nobody. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, if you've got an idea and you want to do it anyway. Yeah. Because if you don't do it, no, it's not going to go anywhere, is it? No. It's like, we're doing this podcast. We did this. It came off the back of the radio because we were having good old chats. And we've enjoyed this, and people like it. People say they like it. So you've got to do... It's no good thinking, oh, nobody will read this book I'm writing, because they won't write it, will you? No. You've got to write it and stick it out there and see what happens.
And I love that thing that Dot said to you, have you written any songs?
That's right. I said, I can't write songs. I said, you never tried. And she was right. I hadn't tried.
You never tried. So you've got to try it. So that's our advice to anybody listening to this podcast who might be going through the same thing that me and Johnny have been through all our lives. Actually, there is light at the end of the tunnel. But do something. Create something, because you're you are incredibly creative. We all are. We've proved that during lockdown. We've all managed to find a way to get through to the next week, to do that. So we would encourage you.
You know what? I don't know about you. I used to love being in a show where you had a director and you had a producer, so I didn't have to think for anything. Just, John, you do 10 minutes there, we do a sketch, and it's all worked out for me. Mm-hmm. When we go on the road cabaret, and like yourself, you go on with your band or whatever, we're one-man band, it's up to us. And you've got to self-motivate every night. So I used to love being in a show because I was like an ordinary job. You know what I mean? Yes. I used to go in every day. I'd band would strike up. I'd get myself ready and I'd go on stage and I'd do it. So I can understand people who are not used to this business. And like you say, the boys that have won, New Faces or one of these things, not New Faces, what's it called?
X Factor and Britain's Got Talent and all that. Yeah.
They can come down with such a bump and they end up having a nervous breakdown because all of a sudden the world's at their feet. They got a record out. They're going to be massive stars. What happens there? Where are they going to work? Mm-hmm. All the clubs are shut. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sounding pessimistic. They can come on a podcast with us.
Well, exactly. It's changed our lives, Johnny. Changed our lives.
I know. Well, I've never met you yet. I'm coming to Swansea.
You're coming to Swansea. Honestly, somebody said the sun's going to shine before the end of the month, or maybe start of June.
I'll be down there. I'll be going to the Gower with my boogie board, and I'll call and see you.
Fantastic. We'll have an ice cream. We'll have a socially distanced ice cream. Oh, look.
Well, we haven't got a socially... June, we'll be able to get together. Hugs and all sorts.
Double jabs, everything. It's going to be great. 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 All right. Well, look, lovely to see you. And I'm glad you got up off the floor. You know, all those times.
You've got to do it.
You got to get up.
You've got to get up one more time. You've got to get up.
Don't get
Otherwise,
up,
if you don't, where are you going to end up?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to pick you up. You got to do it.
You got to do it. Don't get up too
Are
quickly.
we going to get Emily back on? She got some more stuff to tell you.
All right, we have Booker. I'm talking to Steve Balsamo. Steve would be a great guest. So a couple more guests lined up.
I mean, there's somebody who's got up. You take Emily, for instance. She found out about 2 years ago that she's got Parkinson's disease.
Really?
You know, and she's a lovely lady, and she's got everything going for her. She's got some money. She's got a lovely house, but her mobility's going. But she's still okay to the brain, and so there's another case in point. You've got to get up and get on with it.
Yeah, and it's been brilliant seeing the three lads. I'm not sure if you saw the lads suffering from MND this week. Doddy Weir and,
that's a terrible thing, isn't it?
Yeah, Rob and Steve. That was, very inspiring, and I suppose that's what we're saying, in a very different way. But actually, the human spirit is an amazing thing. Don't let life convince you that it's over, because it is.
Don't let the bastards grind you down.
you can say that. Obviously, I can't. I'm on Songs of Praise in a couple of weeks' time, Johnny. I've got to be careful. I've got an audience out there. All right. Well, look, lovely to speak to you. I'm glad the dentist went well. Keep tap dancing. Yeah. It is tap dancing week, and we'll speak to you soon. Oh, it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him.
Goodbye from us.
See you, Mal.
Ta-da, bye. Bye.